Well, hey y'all, are you like me and you don't have a whole lot of time, but you still want to complete some fun creative projects? Awesome, because that's what we're doing today. We're going to give these 3 thrift store items a makeover that has a whole lot of color, a little bit of vintage, and a touch of whimsy. I've had these items in my stash for quite some time. I knew where I wanted to use them, I just didn't know what I wanted to do with them. Until recently, when I was truly inspired. So let's get these pieces prepped out and I'll explain to you where that inspiration has come from. So just like a piece of furniture, these items need to be cleaned first. So I got out my white lightning and we're going to go ahead and give everything a good spray down. After it's sprayed down, then you're just going to give everything a good scrub. Yes, even this glass or ceramic. Then after you get everything scrubbed down, you're going to give it a good rinse. This is just clear water. Then I like to take some paper towels and just wipe it down. And if it's extremely dirty, I'll do it a couple of times. So where I was inspired was Wendy through Chair Whimsy. I've mentioned her before. She has the most darling house in Texas. But recently she's been remodeling her cabin in upstate New York. Which, side note, is not very far from where I grew up in upstate New York. I live in Florida now, and I've actually lived here longer than there, but it's just a small world, and how neat it is to connect on the internet. But anyhow, she's been redoing this cabin, and she has the cutest, most whimsical things. And one of them was this strawberry lamp that she has in her bedroom. Her kitchen as well is super cute. And it just gave me that inspiration that, you know what? I need to add more color because I love me some color. But I love vintage things, but I didn't want these items to feel vintage. And I love a little bit of whimsy. I thought, let's have some fun. We've been through the grays and the blacks and whites, and we've been so serious with everything that I thought, let's have some fun with a few of these pieces. And these are the types of things that you really can. And since the color palette of my kitchen, like I did over the table and chairs for my breakfast nook, it's teal, it's yellow, and it's red with lots of white. So my kitchen's mainly white, and we have white backsplash, white cabinets for now. So I wanted to add some pops of color with these pieces. And so, like I said, I was inspired by Wendy from Chair Whimsy. I'm inspired. There's lots of cute, kitschy things on Antropologie and on Urban Outfitters. And I see strawberries popping up a lot, which is my nice pop of red, but in small doses. Like I don't have a lot of red. And I have an absolute obsession for vintage linens. So since those beautiful, colorful linens have lots of obviously bold color, but a lot of them had fruit and strawberries and all kinds of things like that on them, I thought that would be perfect. So I'm old school, so I draw it out on paper, but this is kind of the idea of what I was thinking. I have this transfer with the strawberries, and I thought I would cut them out and then apply them like this on the sides of the bread box, do some striping and some scalloping, add a little touch of yellow, some polka dots, a little more scalloping, and I don't know. I think this is the direction we're going, but we'll see as we get going. So for the ceramic, he is cute. I mean, the little duck is kind of cute. But this this reminds me of my mom in the 80s. And that's not the vintage that I'm looking for. So I'm going back a little further with the vintage look. So the first thing you want to do is put on a bonding primer. And I have here Slick Stick, which is a Dixie Belle paint product. But you can find bonding primers through a lot of companies. I think Kills has one. Bin Shellac, of course, is a great bonding primer. But this one is a great water-based bonding primer. And I'm just pouncing this on because you don't want brush strokes. So we'll have just a nice, slightly textured finish to this. And it'll cover up the print of that as well. You're going to want to put 2 thin coats on. You're going to wait about an hour between each coat. So for the bread box, we're going to go ahead. There's 2 screws on either side. And we're going to take those off. And then we're going to go ahead and take off the knob. And then we're going to head outside because we're going to fill this in. What I'm going to fill it in with, I don't like to use inside. So let's head outside and let's get that done. We're also going to use that same product on the stool for getting in all of those cracks. So let's head outside. What we're going to use is all-purpose Bondo. What you'll do is take a plate or something that can be thrown out. I picked up a bunch of these tiles a while ago, so I have a bunch of them, and it cleans off really easy. And you're just going to start with a small amount. This does dry very fast, so you use a small amount at a time. Then you will squirt out the hardener. And then mix. And mix it thoroughly. With the blue hardener, it comes with there are different color hardeners, but with the blue, you want to go for a sky blue. And then we're just going to fill all of that in. Then you just let that dry. Usually takes about 15 minutes. No, this isn't a Hannibal Lecter costume. Grab your mask because we're going to start sanding now. Then we're going to go with our orbital sander with 120 grit sandpaper, and we're going to sand off all of the excess. You may notice that there are still some little cracks and little divots that you need to fill in, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and do that with a second coat. So with the second coat, I'm using obviously a lot less because we don't have as much to fill in, but I'm also using twice the hardener. Well, just about twice the hardener. You're going to see it comes to a much darker blue color, and that's because I wanted this coat to dry a little bit faster because we're just using just such a thin coat that I really wanted to dry fast so that we could get moving. We used Bondo to fill in all of the cracks on the stool as well. This had actually been accidentally left outside for some reason. I'm just going to go ahead and load up my sprayer with some, this is Dixie Belle Fluff. It's a soft white. We're going to spray everything white. This isn't necessary to use the sprayer, but it's going to make things speed up, go a lot faster. As I said at the beginning, I'm short on time right now, so this is going to help just speed up the process even more. So grab your mask again and let's spray some paint on here. Just like a piece of furniture, I'm going to start with the underneath first. So we make sure we get all sides of this little stool covered with paint. Of course, I did a test pattern first to make sure that my airflow and paint flow was coming out in the right amounts. And then we'll just quickly add some paint to this little water pitcher. It goes so fast with the sprayer. And really, you only need one coat as well. It lays a nice, good layer down. And we'll come on over to the bread box and get everything covered on that as well. I'm going to do the inside too, so that everything just has a nice, good, clean start. I'm thinking I'm going to add some contact paper that I have to the inside, but I still want just a nice, good, clean finish underneath. And I thought I would, I'm trying to hurry, remember? I have little amounts of time, so I thought the water bottle would be enough to kind of hold this in. Nope, it's not enough. And then I flipped that stool over so that we could now get the top portion of the stool. Now that everything is prepped out and all has a solid color on it, I'm going to go ahead and make a template for the top of the stool. We'll start with the stool first, and then we'll work our way to the other three pieces. But all I do is take a piece of paper and I am drawing out where the opening is, and then I'm going to go ahead and trace out the scallop pattern that I want to create on top. So I folded the paper in half, started draw the pattern, and then I folded it in half again so that I got the same scallop on all four sides of the stool. Then once it was cut out, I went ahead and I just traced around the edges. And that created the scallop pattern. So then I took Dixie Belle's Pure Ocean and I'm just filling in around the edges of where the scallop is, so that there will be white in the middle and then this light teal color around the edges. Very similar to the linen that was that I had showed you in my inspiration. And I'm just using a flat artist brush. I think these are from Walmart. I will try to, I'll try to link some in the description below so that you can get some as well. Now I'll just take some mermaid tail, which is a darker teal color, which is the same color as that dining table that I have. And I am going to add a little bit of lining, kind of to duplicate the stitching that would be around the scallop. And I'm just using a fine artist brush, and I keep that brush quite wet, not dripping, but you want it quite damp so that the paint flows really nicely. And then you just want to breathe for one, but also just kind of hold your hand at a steady position and then follow the line. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to, this is hand painted after all, so you just want to give the appearance of that line around there. And you follow that all the way around. Then we're going to go ahead and the rails of the stool, we're going to paint in the daisy yellow. And as you can see, I'd already started adding some striping to those legs. So I put the tape on and then put the white over the tops, and that's how you get a really nice crisp line. And then I'm coming in back in with, it's a mixture of barn red and honky tonk red. Honky tonk red is like that true candy apple red. And the barn red has a little bit of a browner tint, so I wanted something in between. But you'll see in a few minutes that, well, I changed my mind after I took off the tape. I don't know. It was too circusy once I got done. But I'm just going ahead and I'm painting that top rail in the red as well, so that we have a continuous line all the way around. So here I am taking the tape off, and you'll see it just looks too circusy. I don't know. It was, even for me, it was too much. So I went back in and I just filled in all of those spots. There'll be some lines there, but it's okay. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just looked better with solid red lip. And then while that was drying, I went ahead and I grabbed that transfer, and we're just going to cut out those strawberries because I didn't want that peach background. Once they were all cut out, I laid them out where I wanted them to be. And then you will remove the paper backing off the back and then press the transfer down on into the dried paint and then rub it with the stick that comes with the transfer. What you're doing is releasing the plastic top from the transfer, or the transfer from the plastic covering. And that's why you just want to peel it back and kind of rub it down at the same time so that you don't get any bubbles, as well as you don't lift up any of the transfer. So there it is, all done and ready to go. Now we are moving on to the bread box. So I created the same scallop pattern, something similar, with a piece of paper. And I'm taking some painter's tape, and it's actually 3M tape. I ran out of my frog tape that I normally use, which you'll see it does lift the paint a little bit, but we'll just touch that up. I want to create a pattern because I'm going to put stripes down the center, and then I want the end of the stripes to be scalloped, if that makes sense. So then I come back with a razor blade and I just cut around the drawing of that scallop and remove the tape from there. Now I'll add my stripes using the tape as a guide. I use 2 pieces of tape. That'll be the white section, and then 1 piece of the tape as the red section, or vice versa. I'm sorry. It's vice versa. So we're just going to create that pattern all the way across. Then we'll come back with the white again, and we will just paint over all of the edges where the paint is going to, where I want the red paint. The reason for this is if you do the background color first, then if it bleeds underneath the tape, then the bottom color will bleed under and not the top red color, which will give you a nice crisp line. And now we'll just go back over with the red once that white has dried. Once the red dries, I went ahead and I started adding the striping pattern to the top of the bread box as well, and I'm doing the same process where I go over it with the white first. And the red going over the white definitely needed a second coat. And now we'll just pull off all that tape. And as you can see, Using the 3M masking tape is not the best because it does pull the tape out from underneath. So I recommend frog tape always is my go-to, but if I had it on hand, I would have used it, but I didn't. So it worked in a pinch, and we can obviously cover up those sections. There is something so satisfying when you take off all of that tape. So there's the reveal and then nice crisp lines. Now we'll add some daisy around the edges, and then you might see a little change later on because it felt a little too ketchup and mustard is really all I can say. Daisy is a nice, beautiful, bright yellow, but it was just leaning too, I don't know, with right next to the red was too much. So I did change it up a little. And now we're going to go ahead and add the lining just like we did around the scallop, just like we did on the stool. And I'm using the mermaid tail again. You want to make sure you get your brush nice and saturated with paint, and that paint to be a nice thin flow. I know this probably sounds tedious, but it's actually, once you get in the flow, it's very therapeutic. So once I have everything lined, I will then add some polka dots at the bottom with the Pure Ocean. Then we will add some transfers to the sides. Again, peeling off that paper backing and putting it in place. Then rubbing it with the stick and removing that plastic coating. Now I'll add some contact paper. This is Pioneer Woman contact paper that I actually had left over from lining the insides of my cabinet drawers. And I think there's some inside the cabinets too. I don't quite remember, but I just thought that would be a great addition. Now we'll go ahead and attach those screws on the sides to attach the door, and then the knob that I painted in Pure Ocean. And there it is, but I don't like it. It's that mustard and ketchup. Just didn't look right. So I went back over it with the mermaid tail actually. So there'll be mermaid tail at the bottom, and then I did a lining with the daisy yellow and some yellow polka dots as well. And here she is all done, and powers of AI put her in a beautiful cabinet. Now we'll go ahead and we will start the water pitcher, and we're gonna paint that top lip in the daisy yellow. As well as the handle. And we'll add a little bit to the inside lip as well, so that, you know, when you put flowers or whatnot in there, it's all the same color. Now I'm adding a little bit of the masking tape around the edge so that we can create a scallop around the edge of that little lip on the water pitcher. So I took the Pure Ocean and my detail brush, I'm just creating a scallop pattern. Again, do not feel that this has to be perfect. If you were to see a hand-painted water pitcher, the lines would not be exactly perfect unless it was a mass-produced thing from, you know, out of a factory. Then it would just be a print that would be on there. So a hand-painted item would have some imperfections. So don't worry about those imperfections. And I just created that all the way around the entire picture. Now I'll add some polka dots down the center of the handle, using the Pure Ocean again. And now we'll add a yellow scallop along the bottom. Again, not worrying about perfection. We're just trying to create a little character and a little interest on the basic picture. And so there wasn't just so much white. And there's that satisfying moment of peeling off the tape. It's just awesome. Once I felt like it needed a little red because we're going to add the strawberries on it, and there's no other red on here right now. So I took a little bit, took my detail brush, and I'm just adding a line all the way around the lip. This was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be, so I had a lot of cleanup to do. But, you know, like I said, I'm not looking for perfect. Now we'll go ahead and we'll add the strawberries. I'm doing 2 on each side. They are rather large strawberries, so I didn't want to overwhelm this little picture. But it's the same process. You're just going to go ahead, take off the paper backing, rub it with the stick, and then peel up the plastic coating on top. So I thought it needed just a little, it was too white. So I added some red polka dots with that fine artist brush all the way around. So it kind of looked like a dotted Swiss pattern. And this is what she looks like all done. So after everything was all painted, I took them all outside and I gave them all 2 coats of semi-gloss clear polyacrylic. Making sure that you're going to sand between each coat. And of course, with this tool, we got to start on the underneath part first and then work our way to the top. So what do you think? Did I succeed at the challenge of adding a little bit of whimsy with a touch of a vintage feel and of course a whole lot of color? I think so. I think I succeeded at that challenge. And you know what? My granddaughter absolutely loved them. She saw the strawberries and she said, "Oh, Mimi, they are absolutely beautiful. I love them." And you know what? As I've told you before, I know she's my favorite little hype girl, but there's nothing that warms a Mimi's heart more than that right there. So I'm calling that a win. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you've liked this video. Hit that likes up button. And check out next week because we have a furniture makeover coming to you.